and might be made more difficult by rain. 187.5 kilometres on stage 11, heading south from Lorca along the coast, then tacking west through spaghetti western location country and taking on a double climb. The Alto de Verifique climbs to 1,800 metres and there's only a partial descent off it before the road heads up again. After 13 kilometres of climbing on the Verifique, there's another 15.5 on calar alto, up to 2,120 metres, although the worst of the gradient is towards the bottom. Now, I said the route might be made more difficult by rain. Upgrade that might to a will. Pouring at the start in Lorca, so not very conducive to getting pre-race interviews. Although, as it happened, the day's first puncture was the ITV crew car, so Daniel Friebe couldn't get to the start anyway. Luckily, we've got an interview he did yesterday with the tallest man in the race, Aqua Blue's 6'8" Connor Dunn, pictured here for comic effect with 5'4" Esteban Chavez at an early season race, and facing a baptism of gradient for a tall, heavy rider on his first ever Grand Tour.
Connor, we heard last week that things were a bit of a struggle for you, obviously a lot of climbing stages, and we wondered whether you were going to get through, and you have, and you're here, and looking healthy.
Yeah, last week had a few rough moments. I think a few stages were harder than people thought they were going to be, well, especially for myself. Yeah, struggled a bit on some of the climbs, but hung in there, just suffered and got through them. And actually started to feel a bit better towards the end of the week. Felt good on the stage 9, got in the breakaway, and I was happy with that. It was good for my morale. Yeah, had a good recovery this rest day, so into the second week now and keep on trucking and giving it my best.
Just how bad did it get at the worst point last week?
Oh, I think that stage Villarreal to Sagunt was the worst for me, because I'd kind of tried to get in the break a couple of times on the flats before the hills started, and I realised I was on a really bad day, and Nico Roach came up to me and said, kind of just try and take it easy, and get through the stage. This is going to be a bit of a hard one. So then I was just suffered through it, and I just was right at the back of the bunch, just hanging. Every time we went downhill, it was just as hard. They really put the pressure on, and I was having a tough time of it. And in my head, I just had to take each kilometre as it came almost, and just turned into one of the hardest days I've had on a bike actually. But it was I got through it and recovered. So the fight went on.
So coming here, you know that it's probably going to be your hardest race ever, but is there another level of suffering that you have to go to? Yeah, I think so for me. It's my first Grand Tour, and I kind of didn't really know what to expect. And it's just been kind of one of your dreams to ride a Grand Tour, and get through it. So there's been some moments which maybe I wouldn't have been mentally tough enough to take, but because it's a Grand Tour on my first one, and I'm so motivated to be here, I've just pushed myself that bit further and surprised myself, I guess, a bit at some of the places I've been through in my head already, and it's only the first week. So yeah, definitely just it's a bit of just one of those big things. You just got to really knuckle down, and give it everything you've got, totally.
Well, Connor's certainly doing his bit for the editorial coherence of our show on a rainy day with no other interviews, because he managed to get in his second break of the Vuelta along with 13 other riders. Connor, incidentally, is the last man in the race as of yesterday, 2 hours, 6 minutes and 44 seconds behind Chris Froome. The best placed man in the group was Dimension Data's Igor Anton, who won the last stage to Calar Alto in 2006. He started the day 18th at 5 minutes 54. The most high profile was Romain Bardet, now sufficiently far down at 21 minutes to be allowed to go for stage wins. Now, I mentioned the spaghetti western locations along the route. It's the Tabernas Desert that Sergio Leone used to double for the American West in the likes of the good, the bad and the ugly, although I have to say I don't remember the swimming pool scene. Now, Sky were on the front of the main field early in the stage, then Orica Scott took over, so Esteban Chavez evidently planning something. As the break hit the first climb of the day, it began to break up. Connor Dunn, as the biggest, heaviest rider in it, not surprisingly being the first to fade. As we join commentary, the red jersey group is on the climb too.
Less than 15 kilometres of stage 11 to go, and what a selection this is. 3 of the very best climbers in the world, and they have a chance of holding off the red jersey chase and the group of favourites and riding to a stage victory. Simon Yates looking so much better, so much fresher than he has so far on the Vuelta, and Romain Bardet in the company of Darwin Atapuma. That's a very, very fine group of 3 riders there, David.
Yeah, it is. They've dropped 2 riders in the descent. You had Simon Yates and Bardet, who really pushed on themselves, actually distanced the other 3 one by one, and it was only the last second that you had Atapuma make it back on the bottom of the climb. So they did push it on. They did extend that lead by over a minute on the descent, and now they're just keeping. Now they've just got to try and limit it and hope that the peloton holds off as long as possible from firing its big guns, because the moment that happens, they'll start eating into their time.
Unsurprisingly, they got rid of the other 2 riders who were in that original group of 5. The last man standing was Giovanni Visconti, but he's now some 45 seconds back down the road and will very, very soon be swept up by this group, where he might have to do a little bit more work for Vincenzo Nibali, who has Valerio Agnoli and one other rider, probably Franco Pellizotti, still there with him from Bahrain Merida. And Sander Arme from Lotto Soudal hated the descent and was very, very cautious, I think is probably a polite way of putting it, on the descent. And it is indeed Franco Pellizotti who brings Vincenzo Nibali right to the front of the GC group, and they just ride up now alongside David Lopez from Team Sky. They now have 15 kilometres of climbing to go. These opening 4-5 kilometres are pretty steep, quite sustained gradient, and then the middle 4 less so. And then it kicks up again in the final 4 or so kilometres.
And now there goes Bahrain, who are riding now, so that's interesting. It means that Visconti needs to be aware of this, so that he just shuts it down completely, rests up, because if Nibali's going to go here, Visconti can serve as a sort of stepping stone, but judging by how he's feeling, Visconti, he's not going to be able to do much, so he needs to economise as much as possible now, so at least he can give Nibali 30 seconds to a minute of respite when he does launch.
So Visconti's a minute off the pace of the... and he's still pushing on quite hard, isn't he?
Yeah, he has to. Oh, Simon Yates distance, so wow, that's unexpected. He had been looking so good, perhaps he's just gone a bit too deep. And then he's having gel immediately, so I think he's suddenly hit him very hard, which goes to show how big that effort was on that previous climb. And Atapuma so far is looking the most threatening. Romain Bardet doing a great ride, considering he'd been in that break beforehand. So now all he's got to do is try and hang on to Atapuma.
There is Yates, and they are disappearing up the road and away from him at the moment.
And there's a chance, if that is a hunger knock, if he just has gone sugar low, if he gets enough gels and stuff in him now and just chugs away, he will be able to reboot a little bit. Now, that's not going to be able to bring him back up to these 2, unlikely, but it will mean he'll be able to help Chavez if Chavez needs it, or his brother. That's
our spectacular finish line today. Even if your Spanish isn't great, you can probably translate Observatory Astronomico, the big telescopes that gaze into the night sky at 2,100 meters of altitude. That's Vincenzo Nibali's brother doing the work on the front on his debut Grand Tour. Antonio Nibali was the rider setting the pace for his senior brother and older brother, Vincenzo Nibali, who's just buried in the pack. There you are, Nibali Jr. with Franco Pellizotti, the next rider in line, then Gianni Moscon, so 3 Italians, and then Chris Froome in the red jersey. Then comes Mikel Nieve. Is Wout still there? Yep. Then Fabio Aru, much better day from Steven Kruijswijk from this point in the yellow kit of Team Lotto NL Jumbo. One of the white jerseys of Sunweb, and I don't know if it's Wilco Kelderman, and Alberto Contador, just not too far from the front either.
Yeah, there's only 27 riders in this group, so, and that's only going to get smaller from here on in. Starting from the back, riders getting dropped off, as we're seeing here with Meintjes once again not at his best, just suffering, hanging on there, while his teammate Atapuma is forging on. Looks like Bardet got a little bit annoyed there with Atapuma not coming through, so
dramatic
gave him a choice. Yeah. But you can see just with that, well, it's not general pace making behind from the peloton. They are setting a good pace, but that's eating into that lead.
And he's losing time, Simon Yates. Now 50 seconds, so he's not being able to close the gap, but he is being economical with his effort at this point, and I wonder if he is able to recover somewhat and can rejoin and stay with that peloton for a little while and look after his brother and the Colombian. What are we looking at here? David de la Cruz or Julian Alaphilippe. There were 2 quick-step riders in that group, and one of them needed a new bike. So So Bardet has Atapuma where he wants him now, but for neither of these riders is that time gap satisfactory. It was David de la Cruz who's going to have to try and ride back on his own. So I don't think Alaphilippe could have been in that group, because Alaphilippe would have waited with David de la Cruz and worked with him here to get him back on. So maybe he's all on his own.
Yes, I mean, it's never a good place in the final of a race to have a puncture, but at least the race isn't full on there.
Igor Anton from Dimension Data coming back to the group. Now, he is their GC rider, and he was trying to get up the road and hunt down a stage win today, so he might well be losing time at the end of the day. He will pay surely for his efforts of getting in that breakaway and riding as aggressively as he did, and he'll do well just to hang on to the wheels for a little bit longer in this group, which Franco Pellizotti now from Bahrain Merida is setting up for Vincenzo Nibali. Alberto Contador attacks, and he draws out Vincenzo Nibali, who's had his team on the front riding very hard with Pellizotti and Antonio Nibali, because they sense that David de la Cruz is in trouble from Quick-Step Floors, one of their rivals in the general classification. And now look at this. This is rolling back the years a little bit, isn't it? Contador and Nibali on the attack now.
And it's Gianni Moscon who's shutting it down. It's another brilliant move by him. And that means that with Gianni Moscon there, as I see, we have to make sure Wout Poels and Mikko Nivea there, but that means that Nicolas Roche, as we worried for him, is suffering on these longer climbs, and looks like we can kiss goodbye, or he can kiss goodbye to his GC placings. David de la Cruz, now you can just see in front there, has to, who has just had a mechanical before, and now has been chasing back on it, and might be one of the reasons that Bahrain and Contador have moved forward, because they sense an opportunity, although Nibali doesn't need to move up on GC regards to De La Cruz. He can move away from him. Alberto Contador, on the other hand, can move up on GC. So it's in both of their interests to really make it as difficult for David De La Cruz as possible.
Moscon neutralises the attack, but only temporarily, as Vincenzo Nibali now picks the left-hand side of the road and attacks again. Can Moscon shut this one down? Contador goes with him, or tries to. Looks a little bit more laboured today, Contador, but opens up a small advantage, and Chris Froome just looks at the back wheel of Moscon and asks him to go again, and Moscon is willing.
Well, this is perfect for Chris Froome. Look, I mean, wow, that means it's only Nieve, so it's Moscon and Nieve left, but Wout Poels can't even keep this pace. That's the best climbers in the race. Chavez, we say, is a little bit distance behind, so he's not in that front group now. So that's all backfiring as well for Orica Scott. It looked like they were playing great plan there, and all of a sudden it's all been turned upside down.
No Roach at the front of the race any longer. No Yates, who has also been dropped off that group of favourites. Adam Yates now I'm talking about. Simon Yates, don't think has been caught. I think he will be fairly soon, though, by Vincenzo Nibali and Alberto Contador. Well,
Vincenzo Nibali is fourth overall, is riding himself into podium here, so that will be his main interest, hence why he's going so early. Doesn't really necessarily have to chase the stage as it is. He probably knows that Chris Froome will come at some point, so he's just going to keep the pressure on to make the race as difficult as possible to cement his position on GC. There are the two Yates brothers, so they're together now. Simon Yates we didn't even see get caught, so they must have come by so quick, and Chavez we can't see. So all this information Nibali will be receiving the radio, so that'll be why he's forcing forward as well.
Chavez just a big surprise. Where is Esteban Chavez? Disappeared from sight completely. Team Sky still with Nieve and Moscon working. Miguel Angel Lopez is there. Ilno Zakarin, much better day for him. He's the red jersey and the white helmet from Katusha Alpecin, riding alongside the red jersey of Chris Froome, and that's it.
Now, interestingly, we just caught a glimpse there before the image is cut off of Adam Yates getting a bit of mechanical help from the car, which would indicate that maybe he'd had a puncture or a bike change, and that's why they're doing that. So that would explain a bit more. So we might see him pegging it back a bit, but not at this point. Look at Chris Froome, totally in control, probably finding out where Wout Poels is, getting a check of the race situation, so he knows what's going on behind him as well as in front of him. And but he's still with Moscon and Nieve still there, and that means he's got those two guys just to keep a peg on the two riders in front, Nibali and Contador, who are just there, like 10 metres. So Moscon in complete control of the race here.
And Nibali glances across as if to say, who and what are you, Gianni Moscon? That's just ridiculous.
Well, this is a great situation for Chris Froome now, because the second and third place De La Cruz, you can see, is just he's riding very strongly. He's now moving back up. So that's second group on the road he's moving up to now. That's the third group with Chavez. The second group has Woods and Wout Poels in there, the Team Sky Domestique, who wasn't able to hang on.
So of the favourites, they've broken into 3 groups now. Look, signs that they might, the second and third group on the road behind this group might be just coming back together again, but I don't think they're going to get across to that selection.
No, I don't think the team's going to play any games now. It's up to Mikael Niemi and Moscon to go as deep as they can, because this is going to extend Chris Froome's lead on GC. Second and third place, both at 36 seconds, are now dropped. The next best place is Nibali, who's at 1:17. So, and more than likely Chris Froome can put time into Nibali at the finish, so he could find himself with over a minute and a half lead on second place by the end of the day, and that will be their objective now.
More instructions coming from the team leader on his radio. Moscon, you'd have thought, had done his bit there as Niemi takes over and sets the pace, but Moscon will not give up. He's still there, still part of the effort. And the gap from the white jersey of Esteban Chavez to the red jersey is now around about, well, 50 seconds or thereabouts, 45-50 seconds. So let's assume it's around about 30 seconds that David de la Cruz and Fabio Aru have to make up on the red jersey.
So this is the section now where it's a bit more up and down, if you like. There's false flat, there's little hills, micro descents. So this is a section where perfect for Chris Froome that he has 2 teammates. It was imperative that he got Moscon up to this section, and then hopefully Niemi can sit on Moscon's wheel while Moscon tries and does his best over this whole slightly rolling but always uphill section until the final part, where he'll hand over to Niemi to really set up Chris Froome.
Moscon.
Yeah.
To the front again.
So this is Moscon's job now. He'll be told on the radio, this is just get us through the next few kilometres, just do what you do to get us to the bottom of the climb, and then we'll take over.
Froome's dropped to the back again. No, this is what he does though, isn't it? He just drops to the back, keeps his eye on everyone. Miguel Angel Lopez, the Colombian Superman, his nickname, just pulls over in the blue of Astana.
And see, that's a very clever tactical move. Make everyone think he's suffering, save his 2 teammates. He knows Moscon's in trouble. He knows Niemi. Look at the little nod to Moscon. Moscon told him he can't do any more.
So something of a surprise to see Esteban Chavez in trouble. He's got Jack Haig, though, to his credit, working for him. Exceptional rider, Jack Haig. What a prospect. And the rider on Chavez's wheel looks good as well, Sam Omen. Now it's all coming back together again as Franco Pellizotti from Bardet Merida pilots Vincenzo Nibali up to the wheel and past the wheel of Romain Bardet and Darwin Atapuma, who'll try and latch onto this group and be a part of it now. And they've still got a possibility of riding to stage victory for sure. Now, as we look at the time gap between the red jersey and the white jersey, Vincenzo Nibali needs to make up 41 seconds on Esteban Chavez to take second place from him. And as you can see at the moment, he's doing that with some degree of comfort. He's got about 19 seconds to play with. So almost certainly by the end of the day, Vincenzo Nibali, unless something dramatic happens with either Chavez or Nibali himself, will be in second place in the GC.
Yeah, and that's what he's racing for at the moment. So he's in a bit of a win-win situation. I mean, even if he doesn't win the stage, he's going to move up drastically, and more so than he could have ever expected today. And he looks like he's on fine form. We saw him yesterday. I'm sure we're going to see him today. He's looking good. For sure he's grimacing now, but this isn't going to be fun for anybody. Apart maybe Chris Froome, of course, but we'll soon find out. But it's up to Nibali once Pellizotti goes to just drive it to the line and maximise his advantage on those riders that have been dropped. Niemi moving up now, so he knows Chris Froome wants him to set it up now, so they're going to move back up, and he's going to gauge. He knows Pellizotti's going to come off soon. I think we can be prepared to see Chris Froome move soon, or at least see Niemi take control. Now they've been blocked slightly by Nibali driving around like a racing car, trying to warm up their tyres, just trying to weaving from side to side. There you go, Niemi's taking control.
It's as if everyone knows this tactic now. They know that Chris Froome will be guided to the front. They're on the radio now. Niemi going after Pellizotti.
Oh, perfect. Let him go. He's telling him go, because that's perfect. He can bridge across to him. There is a flat section in the last kind of 800 metres or so, 500 metres. So if he's got Niemi up there, he can go ride himself to an explosion and then know he's got Niemi. Niemi's driving forward. That's exactly what they're doing.
And Bardet and Atapuma, the opportunists, the men out for a stage win, see that move from Niemi, get onto it. That could play out very well for them. So Atapuma closes the gap to Bardet.
Pellizotti's now down. Chris Froome, look, he's going down, chasing himself. He sees all the GC races are just marking each other out. Nibali, Contador, the Contador's not on GC at the moment. It is they were marking out Chris Froome. They know what he's going to do. They know how strong he is. They can't let a gap open up. There goes Nibali's now moving up. Nibali's going.
So Vincenzo Nibali. There he is. You can see that red and blue kit
There.
Round Nieve he comes, and this is it for Vincenzo Nibali. This is a big move. This is the biggest move he has made or dared to make so far on the Vuelta. Everyone's been talking about him. Will he get stronger as the weeks go? That's the general instinct about Vincenzo Nibali. 3 weeks into a Grand Tour, he is at his most dangerous. Is this an early sign that the form is back for Vincenzo Nibali, and can he put any damage into Chris Froome here?
There's a big crosswind here as well. Now look, Chris Froome's isolated. He has to call Nieve back. He has to call Nieve back to come and look after him. There he is, I'm sure he is, because look at that. He's in the gutter. The wind's coming from the left, very strong. Sure enough, there comes Nieve. So Nieve is now going to protect him because he is hurting a bit. It looks like Nibali saw that and just countered it. It all looked like a clever game, and actually, maybe he's hurting a bit. But wait, let's see. Nieve's now going to look after Chris Froome and chaperone him once more, because he was getting put in the gutter and not only getting the harshness of the uphill, but also the crosswind echelon. Look at that flag.
Is this a bluff?
I don't know yet. I don't know anymore.
Vincenzo Nibali pushing on. He can't, he's just got to commit to this. Vincenzo Nibali, he's got a small advantage over Wilco Kelderman, Miguel Angel Lopez and Romain Bardet. You can see by how hard Bardet is riding that bike how difficult this is. Look at the wind ripping across this very exposed section now. 1.6k from the top. And, well, it's not much of a wind shadow that Mikel Nieve offers to Chris Froome, but he's needing it.
It's gone. Now Nieve's exploded as well. So now he did what he had to do, just to give him a little bit of respite. But look, you very rarely see this. Look, it's a crosswind echelon uphill. They're all just getting pegged not only by the gradient but by the wind.
Nibali over to the left-hand side of the road, everyone else getting blown over to the right, and it's just coming back. Kelderman's having a great day from Sunweb. He's heading the group of chasers. Nibali holding on to an advantage of no more than about 4 or 5 seconds, but Chris Froome is definitely under pressure here. Kelderman gives up. Lopez attacks. Kelderman looks across, sees the red jersey now, unsupported, riding for himself into 3rd place on the road. Nibali is coming back. The pain is hurt. It's hurting Vincenzo Nibali, this, and the young Colombian is right onto him. He's closed that up.
Yeah, that's been a great ride. Now, Chris Froome has just paced it to perfection, as we know he does. But it did look at, he's not completely in control. Now, they're going to, Aru suffering as well, still back there. Now, it'd be interesting to see how David de la Cruz is going, because he was looking to, oh, wow.
Well, Miguel Angel Lopez has gone, and he has left everyone at this point on the race. Remember, time bonuses are up for grabs here. He is a wonderful talent, this man. And at the moment, no one has an immediate response to him, but Nibali hasn't given up, and he's just measuring his effort. He's so good at this kind of racing.
Worth noting, great ride from Bardet, who's in the break all day, who's still there battling on. But it looks like Chris Froome, if he can just get to this section where it plateaus a bit, that's where he comes into his own. He can really pile the pressure on, contrary to the pure climbers.
Miguel Angel Lopez now. Chris Froome comes past Vincenzo Nibali into 2nd place on the road. He's looking at that blue jersey. There's Contador with Ilnur Zakarin and Romain Bardet in that little group, just riding up to the wheel of Mikel Nieve. And still Vincenzo Nibali digs deep, and still Vincenzo Nibali does not give up on this prospect. As 1 kilometre to go, he is closing up to Chris Froome, and Froome knows he's there. He looks across on a very, very steep ramp there, and he sees that Nibali is close right up to Froome again.
Well, it doesn't matter here if he's on his wheel, because he just has to put him in the gutter. We see how strong the wind is. He's just got to drive on. But Angel Lopez is looking incredible at the front there. He's just got to push on. There he goes. And look at that flag. So Chris Froome, he could just put Nibali in the gutter here. He's not, though. He's hoping he's going to help him a bit. There, they're talking to each other. There's not much to say at this point in time. You just have to go now. Angel Lopez, it's not a big deal, not a threat on GC as it stands, but at the same time, he is moving up very quickly.
He is moving up. He started the day, Miguel Angel Lopez, in 15th place, but only 4:29 down on the race lead, and he is riding away from Vincenzo Nibali and Alberto Contador at the moment. As you look at Pele Bilbao still protecting his team leader Fabio Aru. There's the white jersey, 1:39 down on the on Miguel Angel Lopez, who is out of sight now. There are the 2 red jerseys, and they've been joined by Wilco Kelderman. Miguel Angel Lopez has only got 550 odd meters to go until he can celebrate his first ever Grand Tour win. There he is, Miguel Angel Lopez, an extraordinary man from Colombia, just 23 years of age. The reason they call him Superman is because he fought off some bike thieves a couple of years ago who tried to steal his bike, and they stabbed him in the leg in the process. He recovered from those injuries, earned himself the nickname Superman. He's looked good this year, coming back from injury, but not this good. This is really the fulfillment of his talent, and he's going to ride to victory here at a famous climb at altitude in the middle week of the Vuelta a España. He crosses himself, he celebrates. Miguel Angel Lopez is in this Vuelta, and he will be taking time on everyone else and moving up the general classification to go with a famous stage win for Colombia. And he takes 10 bonus seconds. Who's going to pick up 6 bonus seconds for second place? It's between Froome, Kelderman and Nibali. I think it just about goes to Chris Froome, and Vincenzo Nibali picks up 4 seconds for third place, with Wilco Kelderman in fourth in that little group of 3. And now the clock keeps ticking over. Alberto Contador losing time. Zakarin losing time to Froome and Nibali and to Kelderman, but gaining time on others. Bardet crosses, frustrated with that ride. Nieve has done his job once again for Chris Froome. And this is how much it hurts for Esteban Chaves. Only now does he come to the line. He has lost 1 minute and 51 seconds in total to Chris Froome.
Yes, we'll get to Chaves in a moment. He's on the second page of results, which is never a good place for a contender to be. Only Miguel Angel Lopez took time from Chris Froome today. Only Vincenzo Nibali and Wilco Kelderman failed to lose it. Behind those 3, it was another 17 seconds back to the quartet of Bardet, Contador, Zakarin and Nieve. David de la Cruz did well to concede no more than a minute to Froome after his puncture. Fabio Aru lost a minute 32 to his own teammate. Esteban Chaves 1:51 to Froome, as you heard Ned say. TJ Van Garderen was at 3 minutes 26, Nico Roach 4:17. Chaves' Orica teammates Adam and Simon Yates lost 9 and 17 minutes.
The weather was not easy today. How much are you suffering because of the cold and the rain?
Yeah, it's really cold for everybody. Like always, the team work really well. Sometimes when you have one plan, the final is good, the final is bad, but the important is we try. And the boredom of this climb, Bahrain attack, Nibali attack, Contador attack, I lost the wheel. Jack is with me, and we try to take one pace and minimize the lost. Yeah.
Orica lost, Astana won in the shape of Miguel Angel Lopez, another young talent claiming his first Grand Tour stage win at the Vuelta. He also took over from Adam Yates as best young rider and might be in the process of taking over as leader of his team.
Miguel Ángel, hoy ha sido un Superman verdadero. Cuéntanos la última subida.
Sí, bueno, pienso que una gran etapa para mí, para el equipo. La subida final era bastante fuerte, de mucha cabeza, de muchas piernas sobre todo, y bueno, afortunadamente la conocía y bueno, hemos tenido mucha calma, mucha tranquilidad, aprovechando el trabajo de otros equipos como el del equipo de Vincenzo, y a la final la táctica era estar muy tranquilo hasta falta de 1,5 kilómetros más o menos.
David Villela held onto the climber's jersey today, with Chris Froome now up to second. Froome stays second in the green jersey competition, closing the gap on Matteo Trentin to 3 points, and continues to pull away in the race overall. His lead is now a minute and 19 seconds over Vincenzo Nibali. Chaves slips to third at 2:33, with De La Cruz, Kelderman and Zakarin all within 5 seconds of the podium. Alberto Contador makes the top 10 behind Michael Woods and Fabio Aru, who can see his teammate Lopez in the rearview mirror. Other objects are just as far away as they appear. Nicholas Roach now 11th, Adam Yates 20th and Simon 36th. They all suffered in the rain today. Some people just suffer better than others.
Chris, you're smiling, but the weather wasn't smiling on the peloton today. How tough was that?
No, the weather certainly wasn't smiling on us today. That was brutal. That was a brutal stage. A lot of wind out there, quite cold. I mean, just over 10-12 degrees, I think, on the climbs there. Certainly didn't expect to be riding up the penultimate climb of the Vuelta a España today in a rain jacket. But yeah, that's Spain for you. I mean, the weather can change so quickly, and I think it did make it an even more brutal stage today. Just looking at the time losses of some of the main GC rivals here today was absolutely critical.
And Chaves losing time, Chris, is that a surprise, or was it not really his kind of climb?
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, because Orica did take it up today. I think they were the ones who made it very hard at the base of the climb, perhaps to distance a few guys like Nicholas Roach maybe, but seemed to catch up on Chaves as well, which was a bit of a surprise. And I think that's one of the reasons Nibali and Contador really started pushing on, and they heard Chaves was in difficulty there.